Hi, my name is Shoka. I am a monk at SokukoJi, where I'm committed to training my mind under the guidance of my teacher, Sokuzan. We rely on your support for our programming, including a scholarship fund to cover living and tuition costs for those who are practicing full-time at the monastery. Thank you for your generosity.
Title of the Dharma talk this evening is The Bullying Mind. The Bullying Mind. And that is something that I'm going to talk a little bit about that I've done, I don't know, countless times. I think I even had a talk title years ago called The Mind Bully. Similar, but I usually don't say too much twice. Unless I do. There's a second time. What I'm referring to there and what I'm endeavoring to bring up as a part of understanding of the way the mind works that could possibly be helpful to you. And that comes out of the Yogacara tradition of Zen Buddhism. Yogacara means mind only, or consciousness only. And so one of the structures that's used in there is the 8 consciousnesses, the 5 sense consciousnesses. We know about that. Then there's the 6, which is just the processing mental formations that come and go in the mind that help you when you're looking to differentiate between the salt and the pepper. You don't have to do much thinking, but you have to do a little bit. It's very, very minute. It's not a judgment. It's a differentiation between two things. So it's very simple form. That form is just fine. It's just when it starts to get threatening, when it starts to create some kind of insecurity in the consciousness, this is when that 7th consciousness that I'm calling the paranoid mind, it's also called the klesha mind, and the bullying mind, the mind that if things are not going his, her, or their way, they don't like that. That's when anger comes out. One of the 3 poisons: passion, aggression, and ignorance. Anger comes out, or shutting down, or ignorance. We don't want to look at that anymore. It's too difficult, too challenging, too painful, too scary. Or the other one that's a little bit more difficult to discern, and that is passion. And that's the mind that grasps. And that's the mind that interprets. Something is coming out straight up and down, and because we don't like it that way, or we think that's not the way it actually is, it's this way. It's called translation. Translating what shows up into what you'd like it to be, what you think it should be, or what is easier for you to go against, to go to war with. It might be totally peaceful, but because of your nature, your unexamined consciousness, what you're shutting off from 3 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 8 centuries ago, and this is the truth. I have no proof. So don't believe anything I say, but you could look at it. See if you can't see beyond time and space. Those are 2 things. Time, there's an aspect of the illusion. Space is the other aspect of the illusion. See if you can see beyond that. Beyond part is extra. That's more relativity. It's not even beyond. It's right in front of you. Always. The truth is right in front of you. Always. Even always. The word always is extra. So the bullying part is when things go awry or you don't get your way, then part of the mind comes up and just makes things difficult. We start to demand. Anger comes out. We start to not only bully ourselves, but bully others. I've been accused of bullying recently because I sit up here and yell at you. Do I do that? I do. You think I'm a bully? You probably should leave. If you actually think that my motivation is to hurt you or push you or control you, maybe you're correct. Maybe this is not a good space for you to be in. But if you see what is happening here, what the intention is here, is to get you to see your true nature. And I've been saying this in a very soft voice for what? Just 6 months? No, I've never said it in a soft voice. But I'm saying I feel that it's important it's very difficult to convey to someone that you personally, each person in this room, each person on this screen, you need to see this yourself. I will say it again, so important. You need to see it yourself. This doesn't mean you need to figure it out or see what the 5 skandhas mean or what the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the 12 links on the chain of existence, how to figure that all out. Anytime you figure anything out, it's a circle. And it comes right back to what? Right back to the original confusion. So you don't have to figure it out. You have to look at it. So sometimes I get a little pushy. So that bullying part is interesting because it seems so justified. It seems so kind of self-validating. Well, you have to be against that, or this has to be stopped or started or moved around or shuffled around. And we have to insist that things go this way or go this way or go that way. So there's a bullying quality to that seventh consciousness, the klesha mind or the paranoid mind. You personally may not experience that so much. The style of your particular area of your consciousness called the seventh may have a different kind of structure to it. Your style may be more to shut off or shut out or close down and not look at anything. There may not be a lot of the other two poisons, aggression and passion. Very different with each person's karma, the very energy that brought you into this realm of the human beings. I assume you're a human being. Temporarily. This does not last. Who you actually are has no form. It's formless, it's consciousness only. And again, as I said a few moments ago, don't believe me. It's not that you will. Anybody here listening to me and has listened to me very much, you know that I say, I want you to see it yourself. I don't want you to believe me. If you're actually practicing what the Buddha taught, you're not believing in Buddhism. A lot of people might talk about it that way, that they think you believe in Buddhism. You believe in anything. No position. In the process of awareness that happens when you see that it's necessary to understand no position, you start being flooded with all the positions you have, all the opinions that are just around the corner. The only way you know you have that opinion is something runs away from it, goes towards it, or shuts down on it. Then it starts to sparkle, something you've not seen in your mind stream. But because you perhaps are now, a meditator, because you're spending some time doing nothing but looking at what arises and falls away in the mind. You eventually begin to get to know yourself. You can even say, make friends with yourself. You're working with intense negativity after a while, maybe not the first few years, but if you do this for any length of time, and I'm talking about a length of time, eventually you will run into the areas of the mind that you've been successful at shutting out. They will start to show up. May take a little while. So the bullying part is the pushing. Anytime anything shows up, whether you're sitting on the cushion or whether someone walks through the door, there's any sense of pushing, any sense of pulling or making or elaborating or interpreting something. Don't interpret anything. Have a willingness to not know what the hell is going on, rather than immediately layer on your idea, your formulas for how to create the illusion that you're in control. You're not in control. And if you feel that you are, then why listen to me? What are you even doing here? If you can't at least consider what I'm saying. I'm not saying believe it. I say that over and over again. I'm looking at something. I've been looking at it for over half a century since I first stumbled into the Buddha's Dharma. Many, many years ago, 60 years ago. I've been looking at it. And some time ago, I don't have a date, I don't have a time. It was not an occurrence, nothing occurred, nothing happened. But I began, or maybe I ended something, I don't know, but I began to see that everything is in front of me is not something else. It's not oh my God, I see that I'm not separate from anything. There is no celebration. If there's a celebration, this is ego. And that will not last. It's called kensho. Sometimes it's called samadhi. If you think there's such a thing as the Vajra-like samadhi, go ahead. Speak that. Speak that all you want. The Tibetans are very good at promoting that kind of an understanding. They're not incorrect, nor are they correct. That's a position that's not necessary in ultimate reality. Yeah. No position. In order to have a position, you have to have a space where there are other positions. There aren't any. This is a classical teaching for that is pratitya samutpada, dependent origination. That has to, you have to see that, you have to smell that, taste that, hear that, think that, feel that, remember that, dream that. None of those are separate things. They're all very similar. I can continue to hold forth, or I can answer questions. Go ahead.
Shoto bowing. In the eyes of the bully, sometimes they might think that they're protecting or doing something helpful. And can we notice that in ourselves, like when we're being helpful or when we're bullying?
That's a very subtle area, and there are times maybe you know someone who's always helping or always being very helpful, but actually they are covering up their own ego by being a helpful person. It's just a way of talking about it. This doesn't mean that someone who decides to become a nurse or a phlebotomist or work in a dog kennel or to take care of chickens or anything. Doesn't mean they aren't wanting to be helpful. I'm not taking away from that. But sometimes that identity that comes with that kind of an obvious relative caretaking of someone else or someone is that a person can use their whole life that is a cover-up of that part of the identity that's fundamentally unreal. That they substantiate it, reify it, and give it a kind of a patina of a helpful person. Not wrong, they're relatively, they probably are helping people. So it's not like, we're not taking that away, it's just saying that it's a mundane path, not a spiritual path. If you want the mundane path, it's available everywhere. And it's always mixed up with various layers of other kinds of accomplishment paths. Not wrong, I'm not here to stop you from living your life or being a nurse, of course not. I'm saying, but you could be a nurse and actually go deeper into the consciousness through sitting practice of meditation. You don't have to become a Buddhist or be a student of mind. You could just take some time out of your life to sit down and do nothing but watch what occurs in the mind until you see the nature of consciousness itself. This is possible for you. You don't have to fall at the feet of the Buddha. You don't have to do anything else but observe. It's just that in order to observe, you might have several different layers of preconceptions, judgments, evaluations, neurosis, and prejudice to cut through. Someone who's prejudiced does not know it. They just think it's the truth. It may take someone who is a mentor or a teaching person who can see the way you're blocking out something, and then by giving the teaching person permission, they may be able to come in and point that out to you, or not. There's no correct or right way to do that. Go ahead, please.
Shoto bowing. How can the bullying mind latch on to the vow or the bodhisattva ideal?
With some kind of gaining idea, and the bodhisattva vow to be with all things, save all beings, put others before yourself, always starts out in a mundane or in a provisional way, helping, that's why they have relative bodhicitta, ultimate bodhicitta. Relative is help people. Something you do all the time. Everyone in here is being helpful in this way or that way, all kinds of ways. But the ultimate understanding goes beyond that. It's a relative word, beyond, but we have to say something about it. It doesn't actually go anywhere. It has no space or any distance. Ultimate truth, relative truth are not separate from each other. But it has to be done with awareness. Otherwise, you'll keep looking for results, relative path. You keep looking at failure, relative path. There's no such thing as failure. This is why the Dzogchen masters referred to it as the great perfection. Dzogpa Chenpo, did I pronounce that right? Just check. I wanted to see if he knew. What?
Not yet.
Anyone here, please don't hold back. Please, if you have questions, anything. Yinlong, you have anything?
Trying to put it together.
Okay. Okay. Let me know. Yes.
Chokodao bowing. I didn't know what I was going to ask. But I'm wondering about kind of the white knight syndrome that I fall into of save all beings.
Yeah.
And I think I see a situation where there's someone vulnerable and a bully. And I'm trying to protect the vulnerable person and get the bully out of there.
What's the question? I hear you. That's a good area. So everybody could have a question in this area. It's a very, very difficult to see sometimes because the magnetism or the seductiveness is so powerful to be sucked into going against that bully and going on the side of the white knight, as you were saying. Go ahead.
But yeah, like you're saying, that storyline is so powerful. And
It is.
it probably times where you do need to jump in. But often it seems, how do we not meddle? Like, how do we get...
One of the ways to work with that, and there are times when this isn't going to work at all, but you could pull back a little bit, just wait a while, wait and see if that's going to develop in such a way where it's more clear, or has more clarity to it, rather than jump right in and with your assumption, your opinion, your judgment, your evaluation. It's based on you wanting to make sure that you're helpful, not wanting to miss your chance to save the person who's being hurt or bullied. There's a lot of thought process shows up around that. And also the kind that can show up that looks at it that might even say, I don't know really what this is yet. But you wouldn't necessarily go away, you might continue to look at it. Yes, sir.
Shoulder bowing. In a case where I'm making something up, we interfere and we just we jump in and we protect the victim and we get the bully out. We have no idea what was going on. How might that have actually been hurtful for the victim to interfere?
Well, one of the things is you're doing there is you're interfering with a dynamic between two people that you're making assumptions about. You have no idea what not only the karma of the last 20 minutes, but maybe the last year and a half between those two people. You have no idea what that's about, let alone lifetime after lifetime. I'm not here to promote belief in past lives. I don't even believe in past lives myself. I don't believe in anything. A few things, but not many. And I certainly am not going to buy into something that I don't have clarity about. It's too diffuse. It's dependently risen, so you can't find the first cause for anything, as if there is such a thing. Go ahead.
Shoulder bowing. Is there help that's not circular bowing?
If you're clear about who you are, you will be very, very clear about who everybody else is, because you're not separate from them. You don't see anybody but yourself everywhere. And everywhere you look, you see suffering. And that suffering is your suffering. You cannot separate yourself from anyone's suffering. Even though it says in the Four Noble Truths, suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to that cessation. The cessation of suffering is not the cessation of your suffering. It doesn't mean that you will stop suffering. It's better than that, and it's worse than that. And the worst part is you may suffer even more after you realize your true nature. You're not separate from all the suffering in the world. You never have been, but for a long time, because you isolate into a single person with a heartbeat and lungs and fingertips that are separate from everybody else's, but this will only protect you for so long. When the body-mind goes back into the elements, this consciousness completely is without location, and you are susceptible to every kind of energy that comes and goes. And when you realize your true nature, even though there's still a body here, same thing. It's just like you died to this life, even though you still move your hands around, you still do stuff, you still get a headache. You're no longer separate from anything. So how you function it can be very threatening to others because you're not functioning out of trying to look good. You're not functioning out of trying to live up to a standard. More?
Bowing, how do we receive the bully?
To just receive and observe that part of the consciousness that is aggressive. And if you can do that in your own mind, if it's in sitting meditation, that's the way to train. But if it's at the kitchen table, or if it's feeling that in relationship to another person or something that's happening in your life, I don't necessarily have to go into some kind of story about it if you have an idea of what I'm saying. But as much as you can, make it as much about consciousness of what is happening in the mind. This is what you're doing when you're on the cushion. You're training yourself by holding very still and watching what moves. You're training yourself to have for lack of a better word, have a very objective attitude towards whatever rises in your mind, including negative thoughts, positive thoughts, neutral thoughts, thoughts that you didn't think you were having. If you sit there long enough, you're going to have some very, very difficult, crappy thoughts that are quite threatening to the ego, things that you don't want to have. You don't want to think about that kind of negativity. But you need to receive whatever rises in the mind, because if you don't, then you're at the mercy of all that unexamined crap. And that can get triggered by anybody, and it can look like they're causing something that is your emotion, your feeling. But it looks like they did it. More?
Bowing, it seems like we could look at habits or negative emotions or even beliefs all associated with the ego as a bully.
Good.
How is that helpful?
What is it you want to know? Because I'm saying, how is that helpful? It's awareness of what is moving in the mind. So it's just being aware of it, not grasping it, not rejecting it, not getting rid of the negativity, not justifying the negativity, not ignoring the negativity. Consciousness, awareness. More?
Bowing, so just being aware of the motion,
Yes.
the arising of all these bullies that are internal.
Just be aware of it, yes, of that, of all of those. You're going to notice there's a bullying quality to it. You're going to notice there's an aggressive, pushy kind of feeling that's happening, that may be happening with you. May talk to someone else about it, and they don't have any idea what you're even talking about. That's why I say keep your practice to yourself. Don't share your experiences in your sitting meditation. Unless it's the first year or two, then you can talk to anybody about it. But after a few years, shut up. Be responsible for what happens in your mind. Because if you start sharing it, eventually that is modified by the karma of others. Their comments on what happens in your mind stream. You have people doing this all the time, constantly talking to other people about how they feel. I'm even doing it myself. It's tiring me. I need to eat more cereal. Something. You need to do something, I don't know what to do. Cereal? Rice Krispies? We are in the cereal city, for all of you people who are not aware where we're at. We live in the cereal city, and that's why we're all a bunch of flakes. Oh, go ahead, Chisho.
Mr. Bowing, my understanding of bullying is for somebody to cause suffering, especially on a vulnerable person. What does it mean if a student feels that the teacher is bullying them? Bowing.
When you say, what does it mean? So in my case here, I've been accused of that. So I would say, if you think I'm bullying you, then you should come and talk to me. We should talk in private about it. We should talk about what's happening in that structure. And then I may justify it. I may apologize. I may say it's so situational, so many different things. It's the function of the teacher. If you read The Myth of Freedom, my teacher, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, I don't remember the page number, said the function of the guru or the teacher, which is a Sanskrit word for teacher, is to insult you. And why is that necessary? Because you need someone that can go right at your ego, because you can't do it yourself. Well, you can, it's just very deceptive. The pride will get in the way of that, and you'll fill yourself with how enlightened you are. So it seems to be necessary. Have I ever bullied you?
Tishbawing, no, I don't think so. I don't feel so, at least.
Pardon me?
I don't feel so.
Well, I don't think so either. I think
Normally, I'm accused of the other way around. I'm the bully normally.
well, I think we've had some very direct conversations about the teaching and about the way you're working with consciousness. I feel that you're a close student of mine, but I meet you where you're at, and you don't have. I teach with some people. That's just what comes out because of the way in which they're tied up into a knot around in a certain area, and nothing else seems to penetrate. But I don't really think about it. I don't really think. I can't really say, Chisho, I probably will never bully you. Although I doubt that I will, but it might show up as a more of a pushy situation coming from me. If I'm getting tired of watching you hide your head in the sand. Now, was that bullying, what I just said? Does that seem to be bullying? Or possibly being mean or something? Yes.
Shadow bowing. I guess I've never done this, but I assume if I were to take boxing lessons, it's kind of just expected I'm gonna get hit. Is there any need to be more upfront about what goes on in a Zendo that like we might get our feelings hurt in here?
I don't know, maybe. It's just, it's difficult. Mundane path is one thing, that's hard enough. To get scolded by your history teacher or something, or any kind of instructor that's teaching you something, or you're going to get some upbraiding somewhere. But from the spiritual path, if it's a true teacher, which I presume that's what you would be talking to, then and you have given that person permission, that teaching can get really rugged, especially after 5-10 years of working with you daily, day in and day out. It can get turned up slightly. That doesn't mean that just because the teacher's doing that they are somehow a perfect teacher. They may be misunderstanding the student. They may not be really clear about what that student's dealing with, especially if that student is not bringing them anything and continually deceives them and saying, nothing's happening, I'm fine. Say that over and over and over again. Not much you can do about it other than occasionally kick them in the knees. See if they're still awake. Yes.
Shadow bowing, is that part of the mind that's telling that story that there's no problem, everything's fine? Is that the bully too?
Well, it could be. It's a cover-up thing rather than the pride is so strong you just can't admit there's a problem. You can't really lay it in front of the teacher, this is what's happening. Instead, you close it off. Pride is a big deal when it comes to final stages of the path. I know I ran into that when I met my Zen teacher, Koenji Roshi. That's what he saw in me. That's what he pointed out. And it took many years to realize what he was pointing at. You've heard me tell that story a dozen times because it's so powerful. It's such a powerful story. I would not be here if it weren't for him. Yes.
Shadow bowing. Is pride the same thing as thinking something's true?
Yes. Any position on it, doesn't matter what it is. Including the teacher. The teacher can't take any position on anything or they're not going to be able to help you. You can't take the position that they're the Dharma teacher and you're the lowly student. They take that position. I'm not saying there aren't teachers that may do that. So the other thing I'd say on top of that, it doesn't mean that you won't flash in and out of that, but you don't maintain anything. If you're working with awareness only, working with consciousness only, it will not get a foothold. It shows up, and as it shows up, it helps you see the very nature of pride because it shows up even in the teacher. Go ahead.
Shadow bowing. How is relative truth incomplete even when it's right?
Because when it's right, it leaves off the other the other end of the spectrum, wrong. He doesn't realize that there's no such thing as right and wrong. Just like you can't have night without day. You can't have life without death. That doesn't mean they're the same thing, but they're not separate from each other. The dynamic there is, and if you realize your true nature, if you realize consciousness only, everything is available to you. Life, death, up, down, back and forth, heaven and hell are all available. Yes.
Shadow bowing in a really obvious situation, we see someone kill somebody else. It's a very clear victim perpetrator situation.
Was it a really bad person?
Yes.
I couldn't help that. What do you want to know? So you're building up a situation, and it's very difficult to take your situation and say, well, this is what you should do if that's where you're headed with it. No way to know. There's no way to know. If you set up any kind of standard ahead of time about anything, just like the whole country is full of laws, I'm not saying they aren't helpful, but they're meant to be obeyed, not observed. And that's a big mistake, because then we have all kinds of people locked up who are, it's just unfair to them, because we don't take into consideration what they were going through when they ran into that difficult situation. Go ahead.
Shadow bowing. So we see something, we have all the relative evidence. We watch a murder, they did it. So it looks very true. Like all the evidence is there. What's the lie in that?
What's the what?
The lie.
You only see part of the story. You only see just that person killed that person. You don't see what happened before and after. You don't see the rest of the illusion. You trap the illusion into evidence. As soon as you trap the evidence, then you can take it to court. But the evidence is without beginning, without end. Yes.
Shadow bowing. Anytime we're coming after somebody, are we already in that evidence mode?
We're already validating what we're doing. It's difficult. It's very, very painful, difficult, frustrating for all of us to deal with just samsara. Passion, aggression, ignorance is coming and going, and we all live, especially in the Sangha, we live with the pushing and pulling and shutting down. It's going on with everyone. And the only thing I would say is, if you're part of a community, if you're part of a Sangha, unless you see the teacher as abusive or unethical, which you may, there's several people do, and they have left. I had one person leave me today. Had an interview with them, and they decided to go a different direction. Long-time student, 10 years, because of something they think I'm doing because of what somebody else said. The other causation might be that they know that because don't have a very good reputation right now, I'm watching you. They may feel it'd be better for their reputation to not align themselves with this first person anymore. And that's okay. You should do that. Take care of yourself, protect yourself. If you feel threatened, that's part of the situation. Yes?
Elena bowing. Is there an antidote to internal bullying that we return to over several years?
I think like self-blame, like bullying ourselves by getting some kind of identity or sense of somebody who's wrong, who can't get it right, who keeps failing, that kind of thing.
Or something we don't like about ourselves?
Same thing. If there's something you don't like about yourself, this is the very nature. It's might not be classical bullying, but there isn't anyone. We create a self so that we can be upset, or we create a self so we can lift them up and make them all shiny and polished and show how they follow all the rules and the laws and always are very helpful to everyone. That stinks. Find out who you are so that all of your action is completely, totally clear and fundamentally sane, not based on some kind of craziness as right and wrong or good person, bad person. Everyone's good. Everyone's basically not separate from the Buddha. More? So I would say, Elena, the other thing I would say along with that is all you have to do is be aware of that. You don't have to dismantle it, deconstruct it, go and go through some process of what's that kind of therapy called with all the initials.
CBT, EMDR,
EMDR.
DBT.
EMDR is what I was looking for. They go back in and find out something that happened 30 years ago that caused you to be all tied up in knots because you were abused or something like that. I'm not saying it's not there, but you do not have to go back. There's a reason why you don't remember that. The reason why you don't remember what it feels like to be burned. And so for some psychologists, am I correcting someone? No, I would say if you want to do that, maybe you need that kind of psychology. Go ahead. Not wrong, it's just that it unearths something without giving you any way of working with it. Whereas sleep practice of meditation starts out with a way of working with it, and eventually you can go into those areas that may be cloudy or in the shadows, and then they can come out into some kind of sanity rather than have the craziness start there and then try to find out how to get some sanity. More schizophrenia, so to speak, use a fancy psychological name. I'm happy to respond to further questions in that area if you think I'm full of it, because I might be. You can help me out here. Yes, sir.
You're going. I'm kind of confused here because it seems like maybe like the bully mind is in myself is helpful for doing like the practices. So I wonder, like, is this like some sort of a conceptualization I'm doing, or?
You mean kind of, am I understanding you say you're kind of bullying yourself or pushing yourself into the practices? Or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the right thing to
Yeah, just
do.
as, well, I have another name for that, transcendental stubbornness. I'm joking. And I'm saying you need to have, you're gonna practice, we all know, anyone in this room or on the screen knows how hard it is to do sitting meditation for any length of time. It is very difficult. But we have an intuition or an inspiration that maybe you get it from somebody or from a text or something or some kind of feeling about the nature of our mind or our life, where we really want to know what this is. And we're in a path where lots of different approaches, but one of the most important ones is just meditate, just sit still and watch what moves. And sometimes that's hard enough that you might have to bully yourself a little bit to get yourself to the cushion. But once you get to the cushion, then it's just a matter of occasional bullying to get yourself to stay there. I know, because I kind of punched that. Yes.
Oldabang, Chisho kind of defined bullying earlier that includes an intent to do harm. And so we've kind of been talking about bullying mind, and there's frequently not an intent to do harm, but there is some sort of victim quality. So when you're saying, having stubbornness, it doesn't seem like there's a victim or intent to do harm there. Is that really bullying, or is that?
And using the word, I suppose you could, the way Chisho is using it, that seems to carry some weight for sure. I'm just saying that the pushing quality, pushing, pulling, shutting down, just going in with some aggression and making something go this way or go that way. So that kind of bullying, not so much the bully on the playground or something like that that's pushing someone around to increase their own stature as a strong person. But
So I just wanted to then go to the teacher who, we've come and asked for teaching
Yes.
from you and have taken vows to be with all things, and we're kind of handing over some of our agency.
yes, agency.
And it doesn't seem like there's any intent to do harm by the teacher. So is that really bullying when we see aggression from the teacher who is?
Well, I don't think I'm bullying anyone. I feel like you give me permission to teach you, and if you come and sit in front of me in the hojo or bring your questions in this direction, my response doesn't come out of thinking something. I think some, but not much. But I listen very carefully and closely to what you're asking me, and then my response comes back. And sometimes that response is not very comfortable.
Well, Divine, but if, going with Chisho's definition of bullying, it appears like an aggressive act
What I'm doing, it does.
when you're trying to kind of dislodge us from our pride or help us see our,
I'm trying to help you see your pride, not dislodge you from it. Help you see it. It's up to you to see that pride. So if you see the pride clearly with consciousness only, it will fall apart because you realize it's unreal. And that's when you actually realize your true nature is just consciousness only. It's not a person anymore. Never was a human, never was an alligator, never was a flamingo, never was a bug, never was a separate thing anywhere, even though there's still hands moving through the air. This is a powerful understanding. It's a powerful consciousness. And this is available to you. I'm not here to guarantee you anything. You may never see it, but you certainly won't see it if you spend your time going in circles and chasing your proverbial tail. More? Any questions on?
Shoshi bowing.
Go ahead, Joshi. Nice to see you.
Hey, good to see you. I wanted to say just I really liked your white polka dot Raksu on Sunday. Who made that for you?
Oh, I bought that myself. I was just tired of looking ordinary and plain, so.
It was lovely.
Yeah, I'm going to wear that again, but I just bought this one too. This is a new one.
That's nice.
I'm trying to get it just as impressive looking as I can.
Well, the white and purple really stood out for me. It was.
I will wear it again. I have to get someone to wash it. Yeah, I'm going to have Hogan possibly dip it in. What is that stuff you wash things in?
Woolite.
Woolite.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that way, because it's kind of crisp right now, it's like wearing something made of cardboard.
Yeah.
And I'll be wearing that again soon.
Well, my question was: is doubt in the teacher a form of pride?
The teacher has no doubt. No doubts in the teacher.
No, the other direction. Doubt from the student in the teacher. Is that a form of pride?
Could be. It could be. I don't know if it would be. I would nail it down that way, but if there's doubts in the teacher, they could have different dynamics to them and so on. Anyone in here doubt this teacher? You do. Okay. So I'm going to ask. Yeah, Chisho's rubbing his hands together. Okay, Chisho, I'm going to let you go first, then I'm going to Yin Long. That gives him time to prepare. And I don't know, for all I know, you guys are teamed up. I know you guys talk to each other. So go ahead, what's your...
Teacher bowing. I was just going to say, giving the benefit of doubt means to doubt the teacher. Bowing.
Well said. You follow that? Smiling, what was it? Smiling turkey sandwich? No, wait a minute. Smiling camel? No, it's not. Wait, don't tell me. Smiling bear, smiling lion, that was it. You look like a lion.
Still smiling.
Still smiling, you are. Is that helpful? Because I think that's very accurate, giving the teacher the benefit of the doubt.
Is doubt? Is that what he said? That is doubt?
Yes, you have the doubt, and so you say, well, you're giving the benefit of the doubt. So what you're doing is you're allowing the teacher to have some space to screw it all up, or to maybe get it right, or any other polarities that are happening in right and wrong. You have to do some of that. I often say, I've probably said countless times, don't believe me. Don't believe what I'm saying, but if you're a student of mine, give me the benefit of the doubt. Give me a little bit, cut me a little slack. Give me some time to talk about it. And by all means, if you're a student of mine, come and talk to me about it. Don't come and sit and say, everything's fine, nothing's wrong. You could come and say, I don't have any questions. That happens quite a bit. So I think that's appropriate. Sometimes we just don't have questions, but it's okay to just sit with the teacher for 10, 15 minutes and just sit there. You don't have to have a question necessarily. But if you do have questions, please, and they can be hard-nosed things. You can come and say what you're doing or how you're functioning seems crazy or inappropriate or whatever, but let's talk about it. Don't just, don't do that. Just, let's have some CCC there. I think that's good. You about to raise your finger up in the air? How about you? You have a question?
When you're bowing, I was waiting to hear what Yin Long's answer
Did he have a
was.
question? He just said no. So, did you have something in the area of what Chisho was talking about? Is that benefit of the doubt? Would you concur with that?
I wouldn't have said it that way, in long bound.
How would you
I
say
wouldn't
it?
have said it that way. I'm not sure. It seems obvious that I doubt you all the time.
No,
I don't see anything wrong with it. It seems like it would be very disrespectful if I just believed everything you said without.
I completely agree. I don't ask anyone to believe this. And if but I'm saying, but don't leave, but you can have doubts, but don't run away. Let's work on this together. So, and that's what you're doing. And I give you the benefit of the doubt. I just gave you permission to sow a road. And I know you have a lot of chaos going on in your mind on occasion, but I don't care. I'm not looking for some kind of perfect monk. I mean that. If that were the case, I wouldn't have ordained any of you fools. Sorry.
Such a gentle way to bully.
A gentle bully.
Yeah.
You guys are fools.
You make us laugh when you bully us.
I'm a fool. I couldn't do this if I hadn't stumbled around in front of my root guru, Kongpa Rinpoche, and then met a Koban who basically showed me exactly what I was doing. And it took me years to realize what he was pointing at. It's very embarrassing to have someone give you a direct pointing to the nature of your mind, and you just keep shutting it out year after year after year. Finally, he died. But I did finally understand what he was talking about. And that's why I'm here functioning showing up as a teaching person. Are there any? Yes, go ahead.
How long were you mad at him for?
It would come and go. I told you that story, so I would be mad at him for a few weeks, and then I would let him off the hook. I'd say, well, maybe he thinks I'm awake. I would go into that direction. And no, he doesn't think that. He just doesn't like me. He just doesn't think I would be a good candidate for Jukai. But it never occurred to me that he could see I was lying. That was. I did not want to be his student. I wanted to be someone who looked like his student. I could not see it. I could not see the extreme self-centeredness I was dealing with at the time, even though I had a lot of help from Kongpa Rinpoche. I was still working on it. Very painful to suddenly discover you're full of yourself and you've just been lying to the person you're asking for precepts from. If he had seen me in a different way, he might have come back and told me that. You're lying to me. You don't want me to be your teacher. That would have been interesting to see how I'd responded. Well, I most certainly do. Or I'd say, you got me, boss. I didn't. It's heartbreaking to look back on it and see the way self-deception works when you don't know it. You don't know you're not conscious of it. You're hiding out from your true nature by covering it up with a blanket of crap, of thoughts and emotions, ideas, judgments, evaluations. Very, very difficult. He was very, very helpful to me. I don't have enough gratitude for him to display. Yes, sir.
Shoto bowing. When that happened, did it look like you were being bullied?
I look like I was being ignored or flipped off in a way by a Japanese monk. So I was shocked that he would treat me like that. That he wouldn't talk to me, that he would hang up the phone. I even asked other people, does he hang up on other people? No, he's very nice to everyone. That's all I got from everyone. He's the sweetest person I've ever met, and I just love him, and he's so humble, and he's so this and so that, which just made things even worse for me. So instead of thinking, I must be a really special person, that didn't show up that way. Is there a further question anywhere? Yes, sir? No?
Shoshi, bowing.
Yes, sir.
Well, what does that say about your style of delusion?
My style of delusion is just pride, full of myself, arrogant, full of myself and arrogant. You don't have to get rid of pride. You don't have to get rid of arrogance. You just have to see that it's unreal. And if you see that it's unreal, it can still be very, very flashy. Some people look at me and listen to me talk for a while and just think I'm just full of myself and go the other way and don't want to listen to me anymore. I don't have hundreds of students. I don't even have dozens. I might have a couple of dozen. I'm not particularly popular a person. But yeah, it's arrogance. Doesn't have to go away. You don't have to get rid of anything.
I can relate deeply.
Oh, come on. You're so humble.
No, you are.
Thanks. Okay, any other questions? Anyone else on Zoom? Jishin, you can't possibly not have a question.
Bowing. I just actually checked the definition of benefit of the doubt, and
Yes.
it points into trust and belief.
Benefit of the doubt. Oh, I was looking it up. You said, I thought you put it in the chat. So you looked it up and it means trust in belief or as belief or and belief? What?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's pretty strong. I thought it was more about doubt.
And the opposite
What?
and opposite of it is assuming the worst.
What?
Sorry.
The worst.
Assuming the worst. That would be a great Dharma talk title. Assuming the worst.
Not like our country.
No, like my coffee cup here. Disappointment awaits. Via negativa. Is there anyone on Zoom who has a question, possibly? Very good, we can close then. Thank you, thank you.
Hi, my name is Shoka. I am a monk at SokukoJi, where I'm committed to training my mind under the guidance of my teacher, Sokuzan. We rely on your support for our programming, including a scholarship fund to cover living and tuition costs for those who are practicing full-time at the monastery. Thank you for your generosity.